There's a little extra. With trig, you have to realize that when I see this, I do this. When I see this, I do this. When I see this, I do this. Okay? So if I give you a trig ratio like sine, cos, tan, secant, cosecant of an angle, I'm asking for the outside of your circle. Right? That's what I'm asking for. Those are done the worst out of every single one. They'll be blank on the test. Like on the unit test, those ones will be blank. They're like, I don't even know what to do. I'm just like, secant 485, I just want to go outside. I want you to be cos, I want you to flip it. Right? Like that's all I want. They are left blank. I'm not joking. It's the worst done question on the entire test. You're all give me that look. I've marked this test, same one, for like, with changes, since 2012, at least 3 times a year, and it is the worst question that I've left blank. I'm just like, and mind blowing every single time. I'm like, okay, I've done a better job of teaching. They will get it. And then they're like, I don't know how to do it. And then I say on the test, like, this is how you do it. They're like, oh, that's all you were asking? I'm like, yep, that's all I was asking. Okay, so when you just see secant of 270, right? I just want 1 divided by cos of 270. That's it. Go to your unit circle. Give me an answer. That's all I'm asking for, right? That was yesterday's lesson. Today's, I'm going to give you a point, or I'm going to give you a trig ratio answer. Okay? If I give you a coordinate, what is a coordinate? It's a point on the graph. And what's a point on the graph? An x and a, that's it, an x and a y. Okay? So the key thing with these questions is it will say it's an x and a y, okay? And these are not on the unit circle. So you can't say the radius is 1. Right? The first thing I will do with this, I'm going to draw it. Pretend that's a straight line. And it makes the bow tie triangle. And some people are like, well, when are we going to do the hourglass triangle? Never. So if you're ever drawing it, don't. Like, go erase it and draw the bow tie triangle every single time. Okay? Never will it be with the y-axis, ever. So they gave me a coordinate which can form a triangle. I forgot to switch computers. I don't have to do that. So this is -2, and this is -6. Can I find the third side? How? Pythagorean theorem. Yep, this is grade 10. Remember I told you every single thing we do leaks back to grade 10? Yesterday's SOHCAHTOA. Today, Pythagorean, like everything from grade 10 is used in grade 12. Sometimes it's not used in grade 11, but it will be used in grade 12. If you go to all the grade 10 children who are doing math and be like, trust Lepp when she says, grade 10 material is used in grade 12 every single day. And they'll be like, no, it is. And if you don't try in grade 10, which some people don't because they come in like thinking they can do very minimal like they did in grade 9 and be successful, and they're not. They don't have the grade 10 skills for grade 12, and that's where they get caught up, right? They'll do the grade 12 perfectly fine and then can't follow through with the grade 10. So if you see a grade 10, you're like, just tell them that. I got a little bit of information for you. Do good. Try hard in math 10, right? Super important. So we need this. Pythagorean theorem is just your hypotenuse squared equals your 2 sides squared, which we called a squared plus b squared equals c squared. But we're not doing a's and b's and c's. We're doing, what is this length? What is this? It's an x. What is this? Y. And what is this? It's an r. It's a radius. Right? If this was a perfectly drawn circle, which it's not. But you can imagine. All right? Art's not my thing. The kids are really awesome at art. Not genetically for me. All right. So there's your radius. So what could we say? We could say the radius squared equals x squared plus y squared. Just manipulating the letters from Pythagorean theorem, right? That some person along the line thought a squared plus b squared equals c squared looked pretty. I don't really know. It's alphabetical, right? But really, it's just hypotenuse plus the 2 sides squared. Okay? So we don't know the radius. So we're going to find it. So we're going to get -2 squared plus negative 6 squared, and we get r squared equals 36 plus 4, which is 40. And that's why this unit always came, trig always comes after radicals in grade 10. Why? So that we can reduce radicals if we have to. At this moment, we're going to do that. So we take the square root. When we physically take a square root with our arm like this motion, what do we have to do? Plus or minus? Radius is a length of measure. Can radius ever be negative? No, they can be 0 or positive, right? So x's and y's can be negative, but your radius will always be positive. And I'm going to put this up here to remind myself. So I get r equals positive root 40. Can I break down root 40? Yes, to what? To root 10. Because it breaks down into 4 times 10. 4 comes out, comes a 2 root 10. 2 big skills from grade 10. Needed to even start this question. Need to even attempt the grade 12 question. Okay? So, what this will entail is I'll give you a coordinate, and then I will ask you for a trig ratio. So I might say, given the point negative 2, 6, determine the trig ratio tan of theta, sine of theta, cos of theta, secant theta, cosecant theta, blah, blah, blah. We're going to find all 6 trig ratios, but on a test they'll ask for one. Okay? And they're going to ask for one that has an r, because you have to find it. So, we're going to look for sine theta. Now, nothing more annoying than you writing sin on the page. If you don't put a theta on it, it is the word sin. If you do not put a theta beside cos, it is the word cos. Sounds really weird. Some of you say it that way. And then tan theta is just tan. It's just the word tan. If it doesn't have a theta beside it, it is not a trig ratio. Please put thetas beside them. Why do I say that? Because people do not put thetas beside them. The theta has to be there because that is an angle. That is a placeholder of where an angle goes, right? That's what that theta is. That's a placeholder of where an angle goes. If you do not put it there, you do not have the placeholder there. So, sine theta. This is where our fancy trig ratio memorization comes into account. Sine, anyone remember what it was? Your resume. It's very funny. Sine your resume. It's sine your resume. So what's it going to be here? Sine, what's your? Negative 6. What's resume? 2 root 10. Now the 6 and the 2 can reduce. You take a 2 out of both of them. So this is going to become negative 3, and this is going to become 1. So I'm left with negative 3 root 10, which is a great answer. But they will rationalize their denominator, which is a grade 11 skill. Do you see how many skills we need from previous courses to be successful in 30? Multiply by root 10. Multiply by root 10. Negative 3 root 10 over 10. That's sine. What's sine's bestie? Cosecant. If you forget, can you look on your formula sheet for the one that's 1 over sine? Yes. So if sine is y over r, cosecant, its bestie, cosecant theta, we need that placeholder, little cowboy is what my nose looks like. Cosecant theta is what? R over y. If sine your resume, cosecant is resume your. Remember, they're just the reciprocal, because they're called reciprocal trig identities, which means they're the reciprocal, the flip of the other trig identity. So we'd get r over y, which is 2 root 10 over negative 6. We can take a 2 out of both. And we get root 10 over negative 3. What else could I ask you for? Toast? What is COS's acronym? Cook extra rice. Who wouldn't, you know? Fried rice with it. Great. All of my Filipino friends are like, yes, that is what our mothers do. That's what they tell me in all the classes. Extra rice. Is this true? Anyone know? Yeah. Also, you need to wash rice. Did you know that? Didn't know that. That is a thing. Yeah, I'm getting shameful looks. Ari is shamefully looking at me. Does everyone wash their rice? Is it just me who did not know this? Yeah, you wash it. It makes it way better. Do you know how to wash your rice?
Yeah. So the water is clear.
Yeah, I felt sheer shame. I was shamed last semester. I only found this out last semester. It's fine. I've been eating dirty rice for a long time. Didn't know that. It tastes totally different if you do wash your rice, which I did not do. So, yeah. All right. If you haven't, start. That's all I'm going to say. Yeah. So, cook. What's extra? What is it? Yeah, cook extra rice. What is extra, though? Sorry. Like, what is X? -2. There we are. And what's R? Someone just said the rice. You're right, it is. And so it's -1 over root 10. And then we rationalize. Hey, what is COS's bestie? Secant. So if it's cook extra rice, secant is rice extra. Still sending home the same idea. Okay, so rice, 2 root 10, extra, -2. These cancel, and I'm left with a -1 on the bottom. Now you can write it as root 10 over -1. They will never write it like that. What is it going to be? Negative root 10. Okay? All right. There's going to be tans. We'll do them on the next one. So flip over to the next question. So this one is an x and a y. We need to solve for what first? R. And I always plot them because it just makes it a little bit easier if I can actually see what it looks like. Bless you. Always rotates around with center of 0, 0, and then with our x-axis bow triangle. So we get -4 and 3. And I have to find the R. They often use 3 and 4. It's great because it gets you an R of 5. If they give you nice ones, then you don't get as like radical-y ones, which is nicer. Also, 13 and 11 and 5, or 13, 12, and 5. So we do R squared. My brain halted for a second there. And then x squared plus y squared. So R squared equals 9 plus 16. R squared equals 25. Square root plus or minus. And our radius is always positive. So when it's a coordinate, it's actually easier. You're going to get radius, so it's going to be positive. We're going to do trig ratios right away, which are not as easy. So this time we're going to do tan. Tan what? Your x box. So what's your? -4. And x box? 3. Would they ask for tan on this question? Probably not. Because they gave us x and y, they wouldn't make us solve for r, right? So they're probably going to ask us for a trig ratio, we have to solve for r. So what if I ask you for sine? What is sine? What's the acronym? Sine, your resume. So it would be like this. So what's y? What's the radius? So what if I ask for cosecant? Instead of your resume, it would be resume your. It's besties with sign, so it would be 5 over -4. Now reminding you from younger years, 5 over -4 could be an answer, or they could go -5 over 4, or they could go negative completely in front of the whole fraction. Those are all the exact same answer, right? So there's one negative going around. Okay? When you see a coordinate, they will ask you to find the trig ratios. Now, this is another one that pops up a lot. Scrolling past that one, we're going to this one. They give you a trig ratio. They give you a quadrant. They make you find a trig ratio. So they give you a trig ratio. They give you a quadrant. They might give you a quadrant, or they might give you like a restricted domain, like that. But they give you a trig ratio and a quadrant. People who draw a diagram, 98% of them get this right. People who do not draw a diagram, it's 50-50. Okay? So I see tan. I'm going to say tan. What is the trig ratio for tan? Tan, your x box. They gave me an x and a y, just like I was given before. Correct? We have to use CAST rule at some point as well. But for now, we're just going to use this. So tan, 4 over 5, and it says it's in quadrant 1. So I'm going to go draw it. So I can just draw a rectangle, or not a rectangle, oh my gosh. Triangle in quadrant 1. Does it have to be completely accurate? Is someone judging you on your diagram? No. They want a trig ratio. They want cos, cosecant, and sine. That's what we want. So don't overextend yourself on your triangle. So this is x equals 5. We know y equals 4. We need to find r. So this is another exact way of asking exactly what we did on the previous page without giving you a coordinate. They can just give you tan. Or if they give you cotan, same thing. It's x over y, right? So it's like giving you a coordinate. So we get r squared equals 25 plus 16, which is 41. We take the square root, plus or minus, but it's an r, so it's going to stay positive. R equals 41. Can 4 to the square root of 41? Can square root of 41 reduce? No, it's a prime number. So now we need to just answer these 3 trig ratios they want. So I help myself over here. I say, oh, I have an x, I have a y, I have an r. If I have my trig ratios memorized properly, it's a really easy question. Okay? Cos. What's the acronym for cos? Cook, extra, rice. So I'm going to get 5 over root 41. And then I have to rationalize. So I multiply by root 41. So I get 5 root 41 over 41. Cosecant. What's cosecant besties with? Sine, right? And sine is what acronym? Sine, your, resume. So what's cosecant? Resume, your. Help myself out, put that there. So what's the r? Root 41. What's the y? 4. Done. And then sine, your resume, so C split, 4 over root 41, and then I rationalize. So I get 4 root 41 over 41. Yeah? Okay. 2 doesn't give me a quadrant. It doesn't say 1. It doesn't say 2. It doesn't say 3. It doesn't say 4. But it says between 90 and 180. What quadrant is between 90 and 180? 2. So it's indirectly saying 2, right? Like it's a fancy way of saying quadrant 2. That's it. Now what is this? So it's sine. So what are these? Y and R. Okay. Well, I kind of can't draw it currently. Why can't I draw it currently? I don't know that. I do know it has to be in quadrant 2, so x is going to have to be what? Negative. That's why I like drawing them, because it will help me out. So I know my r is root 10. I know my y is 3. And then because I drew it, I now know my x is negative something. So I put the negative sign there to help myself out. Because I'm going to take a square root, and I'm going to take a plus or minus, and I'm going to know that it's minus because I drew the diagram because it's in quadrant 2. Right? If not, you have a plus minus sitting there. So our formula is r squared equals x squared plus y squared. But I need x squared by itself, so I'm just going to subtract the y squared over. So I'm going to go x squared equals r squared minus y squared. And then I plug in my values. X squared equals square root 10 squared minus 3 squared. So x squared equals, what happens when a root, you square a root? It just cancels, it goes bye-bye, right? So I'm left with 10 minus 9, which is 1. And then I physically, with my hand, do that square root. When I physically do the square root, I get plus or minus. Now, if you didn't draw it, you would be winging it. You'd be guessing if it's positive or negative, right? Be a 50-50 guess. Because we drew it, because we know it's in quadrant 2, we know our x's are what in quadrant 2? Negative. Now I have my 3 things, and I can do my ratios, right? So what's the acronym for tan? Tan your X box. Fill it in. See what you get. So, tan your X box. So it's negative 3. Cosecant is best used with sine. Sine is your resume. So this is resume your. So it would be root 10 over 3. And then cos is cooked extra rice. So it's going to be negative 1 over root 10. Rationalize. I get negative root 10 over 10. For your homework, I'm giving you 3 of them, and you are giving me all 6 trig ratios. So I'm going to give you 3 trigs, and you're going to give me all 6 trig ratios. So I'm going to give you sine theta. This is number 1. Has to be negative 3/4 to be in quadrant 3. 2. If I put you between 180 and 270, what quadrant am I putting you in? 3 again. And then I want the 6 trig ratios for all 3 of them. Okay?